Welcome to the Riedell Report, brought to you by College Baseball Central, bringing you 90 feet closer to the greatest show on dirt. Now, here's your host.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Andrew Riedell. Welcome to the Riedell Report on a beautiful, hopefully it was beautiful where you were today. It rained down here in South Florida on this beautiful March 30th. We're about to get into April. We are entering week 7 of the college baseball season today. We had 5 games on the docket today, all fun in their own way. Or according to Warren Nolan, we had 7, but I thought we had 5. I don't know. I try and cover everything. The big game tonight is obviously San Diego State and Arizona State. Arizona State drops down to 25, I believe, in the new College Baseball Central. Let me double check that. The new College Baseball Central poll. If you haven't already, they're 24 in the new College Baseball Central poll. If you haven't already, I'm going to throw this. I don't know how it's going to pop up, actually, because I'm using StreamYard, but I'm posting YouTube chat. I think it's showing up in the YouTube chat. It is showing up in the YouTube chat right here. That is our new website, collegebaseballcentral.net. There's no more www, as I pointed that out to my boss a handful of times. It's just collegebaseballcentral.net now. That is our wonderful new website over at College Baseball Central, where you can check out the rankings, all of our articles. You can meet the staff. We have message boards that I think I'm going to take advantage of this week, because we're most likely not going to have a show Thursday due to the Easter week. So a bunch of conferences are moving games from Friday, Saturday, Sunday to Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I will be out at these games Thursday and Friday for the most part. I'm going to confirm it now. Thursday, I will be at FAU and UAB. That is in Boca Raton. I said that backwards. So UAB at FAU. And then Friday, I am going to take the far journey up north to see Ole Miss face off against the Jekyll and Hyde of college baseball, the Florida Gators. As the Florida Gators are obviously the Jekyll and Hyde. One week they are Jekyll, and the next week they are Hyde. One week they are the most dominant team in college baseball. The next week they look like a JV baseball team. But nonetheless, we are here in week 7 of college baseball. We had a fun week of college baseball this last weekend. And obviously here at the Riedell Report, we talk about everything college baseball, especially these mid-majors, because these mid-majors are fun in the sun, even if it did rain wherever you were this past weekend. It rained where I was at UCF. But as we always start off every Monday show, let's jump right into it with my top 25. It didn't seem like people were that mad at my top 25 this week, unless I missed a bunch of hate comments because they get all get like spammed out now or something, because it's just like a weekly ritual. It's like I don't know what it's called, but let me adjust that. Here is my top 25. UCLA stays at the number 1 spot. Even with Texas sweeping Oklahoma this week, I keep Texas at 2, and I keep UCLA at 1. UCLA has the nation's longest winning streak with 19 games, I believe. Just unbelievable what they're doing. Texas, I give them their roses, but this is a Texas team that did lose to Houston in the midweek. Over to Georgia Tech. They take down NC State this weekend, and as you see in my dropped out right there, NC State drops out of my top 25. I think they are a little fraudulent, in my opinion. They haven't been able to take care of business against top 25 teams, such as my number 6 team, FSU. Obviously, they did take that Friday game, but still they looked lifeless in games 2 and 3. Georgia Tech's my 3. Mississippi State, they sweep through the Magnolia State. They sweep through Ole Miss. I think they're one of the best teams in college baseball. Georgia sweeps through South Carolina. I'm not like another media organization. I'm not going to punish FSU for losing their best player in Miles Bailey. I'm actually going to reward them. I moved them up to 6, I believe. Or no, I actually flipped Georgia and FSU. I believe FSU is a top 10 team in the country. And even on some weekends, they look like a top 3 team in the country with that rotation and how that's shaking up. The loss of Miles Bailey is detrimental, but I think this FSU team is still very good and has a lot of ball left to be played. UNC, USC, Southern Miss, and Oregon State re-enter my top 10. USC enters my top 10 for the first time all season. UNC sweeps through Notre Dame. Notre Dame was everyone's love saga last week, being that 25th team in a lot of media polls. I actually don't remember if I ranked them 25th or not. I think I considered them, but UNC takes care of business. Again, one of the best rotations in the country. They go toe-to-toe with FSU, and I can't wait to see that hopefully soon. USC take care of business, winning their series this week. They did drop that game to Oregon State on Tuesday, so I think I might have messed up by putting Oregon State at 10 and USC at 8. But you could really maybe see those two teams in a weekend series. I would still give the upper hand to Oregon State, so that's probably my fault. Southern Miss and Coastal, same thing here. I think Coastal's the better team right now, and I think they're trending up. And contradict myself here in a minute when we get into my Sun Belt rankings, as I have Coastal Carolina as my number 1 team in the Sun Belt right now. So whoopsie daisy there. Auburn, I dropped them down to 13 after getting swept by Alabama this week. Same with Virginia. I dropped them down to 14 after dropping 2 out of 3 to my new number 25 team, Boston College. Arkansas, I should have had the nuts to drop them out of my top 25 the way they look this weekend. Micah Butella at CBC did drop them out of the top 25, and I respect him for doing that. This Arkansas team is also kind of Jekyll and Hyde. They're really good at sometimes, and then they can't even score a run at times. UCF is my new 16 in the country. This UCF team is legit, in my opinion. I saw them this past weekend against Arizona. I think this pitching rotation is very legit. Even the day I went, they didn't have Matt Saucer throw. Mateo Gray steps in, and he just dominates. They ran rule the game I was at, but they still took care of business against Arizona. Oregon take 2 out of 3 versus a very good UCSB team. Obviously, if Oregon's not mid-major, but I wish I could have previewed this one. I have rules on the show to just focus on the mid-majors, let everyone else focus on the Big 10, Big 12. But UCSB and that pitching staff, we need to talk about them more on this show, in my opinion, and that's my fault, if anything. Oklahoma, I dropped them to 18 after being swept by Texas. Again, kind of the same thing. Not the same thing with Arkansas, but Oklahoma, they have shown some glimpses at time. But now that pitching rotation starting to see a little adversity. Cam Johnson hasn't looked the same on Fridays now, and it could there be a little trouble brewing in Boomer Soonerland? Alabama, I moved them to 19. I've had arguments with Alabama fans that they're like, oh, they look like a top 10 team. I hate rewarding teams so quickly. Because in this industry, you'll see it's like Oklahoma. They went from like unranked in the preseason to being as high as like 6 or 8, and now everyone's like, oh nope, sell Oklahoma. So I'm kind of being not optimistic, but I'm being a little cautious with Alabama. UTSA at 20. I still think UTSA is the best team in the American. They proved this week, taking 2 out of 3 versus ECU. Florida, I re-ranked them back at 21. Again, the Gators, they're Jekyll and Hyde. I'm using that quote a lot with my high schoolers for some reason. I don't even teach English there. But I'm using this quote a lot, or that phrase a lot. They have bipolar disorder, the Gators. I never know which version I'm going to see. Hopefully, I see a good version of the Gators on Friday. Nebraska, I'm a very big fan of this Nebraska team. I'm very high on the Cornhuskers. They're playing some really good ball. Kentucky, they dropped 2 out of 3 versus LSU. I'm not going to punish them for that. I don't know how some other people voted with Kentucky. They obviously stayed in our top 25 at 25, but I'm not going to punish Kentucky for dropping 2 out of 3 at LSU. The other option for me was Arizona State here. And you dropped 2 out of 3 to West Virginia, who I kind of skipped over. West Virginia, props to Steve Sabins, taking 2 out of 3 in Tempe this weekend. That was phenomenal. That Sunday night baseball game, it had everything. Grand slams, stealing home, and that's just West Virginia baseball for you. That was just West Virginia baseball for you. But I'm not going to punish Kentucky for dropping 2 out of 3 at LSU. I think LSU is going to be back on the come up. Texas A&M, you sweep through Missouri. You did your job. You deserve to be in my top 25. And then Boston College, you take 2 out of 3 against a very good Virginia team. This rotation is legit. Sean Miller, I feels like everyone talks about AJ Colarusso. He hasn't even been the best that he's usually been so far. I'm very high on Sean Miller. Monty Taylor from Just Means Less. He's been instilling him into my head. So there's that. I dropped out NC State, I mentioned. USF and Ole Miss, they deserve to be punished. They dropped 2 out of 3 and get swept this weekend. Jacksonville State kind of got the shit end of the stick because they lose one game in their series, but it's like, in my head, I'm thinking matchup to matchup, who's winning in a series? Boston College or Jacksonville State? Boston College is right now. That's where I am right now. I did consider Jacksonville State and Arizona State. I still think this Arizona State team is legit. I still think they're a top 5 team in the Big 12 right now. I'm still very intrigued with Arizona State. Wake Forest, I considered again. They take 2 out of 3 against Cal. Wake Forest, the pitching's been a little off. Tom Walters needs to figure it out there. Kansas, they're a top 5 team in the Big 12 right now. They've been taking care of business ever since they dropped their first series, and then they've won out so far, I think. Or no, I got to double check. I think they're 7-2 in Big 12 play, actually, so never mind. Vanderbilt, you sweep through Tennessee and just had so much fun this weekend. You won the game by executing bunts and then hitting a walk-off grand slam. Props to you, Vanderbilt. And I'm so happy that these rankings are getting tougher and tougher. That's how you know we're getting a lot of baseball right now, is these rankings are getting tougher and tougher and just like, I'm not up till 1 a.m. I'm up to like midnight just contemplating like, okay, Boston College or Jacksonville State, Boston College or Arizona State. So that's my top 25. The CBC rankings, let me read that off. If you did not see that already, the top 25 goes UCLA, Texas, Georgia Tech, Mississippi State, Georgia, FSU, UNC, USC, West Virginia, Oregon State, Southern Miss, Oregon, Coastal Carolina, Virginia, Auburn, Alabama, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, UF, Arkansas, UCF, Nebraska, Boston College, Arizona State, and Kentucky. Obviously, you can see that at our new link right there below. I kept it on the screen for oh so long. But let's jump into our next part of the show, our mid-major. The top 2 mid-major conferences, in my opinion, right now are the American and the Sun Belt. We're going to start ranking the Big West and the West Coast Conference and some other conferences, but let's jump into the American right now. The American is it's not going to be a multi-bid league, in my opinion. It'll be a 2-bid league, but it's not going to be like a 3. I was really pushing for this 3, but I've been wrong so far. UTSA moves up to number 1 in my ranking. They take 2 out of 3 from East Carolina, and I still have questions about East Carolina. Their lineup hasn't been so well at times, and the pitching's been getting hit with more and more injuries. Ethan Rose only went an inning yesterday, walked 4 guys. Is he starting to get his freshman humble pie, as some may say? Might be tough to say. USF enters at 2. They dropped their series to Charlotte, but I still think they're the second best team in the American right now. It's tough to say that after dropping 2 out of 3 to Charlotte, and then I have Charlotte at 5. Again, I'm contradicting myself here, but I think USF just had an off weekend. Edwin Alicias on Friday did not have his best stuff. No one on this USF staff had their best stuff this weekend. I still think USF's the top 3 team in the American. My number 3 team is Wichita State. Wichita State takes 2 out of 3 against Memphis this weekend in a very weird series where Wichita State wins game 1 and 3, 7-3, and then They get run ruled on a Saturday. I think this Wichita State team, the more I talk about them, the more I feel like that offense is legit. The more I talk about them, I'm buying more and more stock in Brian Green and that team over there in Wichita State. So I'm just going to keep buying stock in them. UAB jumps into my 4 here. I had them at 9 last week. I'm like, oh, yeah. That series meant nothing. No, they're legit, I guess. They sweep through Tulane. I got to find his name again. I think it was what is his name? I just had it. UAB. Here we go. UAB baseball. Not Magic City. Not Mason Steel. Max Price, that's what his name is. Max Price walks off Tulane last night for the series sweep, a game-winning 2-run home run in what was one of the more fun series of the weekend. If there's any Tulane fans watching this show, I'm starting to have my doubts about this team. The pitching staff, it's kind of getting in a weird cycle where you're teetering on insanity with the results you've had the last few years, but you bring in good pitchers. You brought in a very good class of transfer arms, and they just have not produced. Bo Sampson, who's supposed to be Tulane's Saturday guy, he just hasn't done jack shit. So that's why Tulane's at 9 as well. Charlotte, I have Charlotte at 5. They take 2 out of 3 from USF. I think I'm high on this team as it begins. This offense keeps mashing, and then you get 2 phenomenal outings out of your bullpen this week against a very good USF team. I think this, going off of who does Charlotte have this week? They have East Carolina this week. If Charlotte takes 2 out of 3 at East Carolina, I think Charlotte's going to be in my top 3. ECU, I told you how this series was going to go with UTSA on Thursday. Ethan Norby was going to either shove or get shoved. He shoved. They win game 1, and then the pitching falls apart in games 2 and 3. You get a long outing from Sean Jenkins on Sunday. He didn't look the greatest. But the good thing is your offense is still fighting, and I think that's a good thing for ECU. Pitching, got to figure that out. Rice at 7. It's weird because I keep them at 7 here from last week. They take 2 out of 3 against FAU. And I got to give David Pierce his props. He's going to – it's not going to be this year, I think. It might be. Might be with the way the new American tournament format is. But David Pierce is going to have this Rice team back in the NCAA tournament by next year, I think. That might be a hot take. I think this Rice team's trending upwards. They take 2 out of 3 against an FAU team that I've been high on, but I feel like I've been high on everyone so far. And I've been high on everyone because I love college baseball and I love being positive. But sometimes I got to be more negative, I guess. FAU at 8. I'm still high on this pitching staff. I'm going to go see them play on Thursday against UAB. And if you had to ask me who's going to take that series, I'm going to tell you FAU. But UAB might come in and shock me again. I'm really excited to actually see this UAB FAU series. If we do have a show Thursday, we are going to preview that. Tulane at 9. I just talked about just what's going wrong for them pitching. The good news is your offense is still a little fun. Nate Johnson's looked really good. The West Coast style of baseball they play hasn't been like. And the thing is, with this new tournament format where the top 8 teams get in and it's single elimination, not double elimination, single elimination, you might not get past day 1 with the pitching. You don't have a Michael Lombardi. You don't have Luke Flata coming in. Luke Flata was phenomenal yesterday for Arizona, by the way. You don't have those guys that come in. You have Jack Frankel. You have Jude Abadesa. They've been okay. They haven't been Lombardi good. So I'm very worried. And then Memphis. Honestly, Tulane was the only team that got swept this weekend. They should be the last one. Memphis ran rule Wichita State, and I'm buying more and more stock in Wichita State. So I have my concerns for I actually have their schedule right there. I have my concerns for Tulane who Tulane actually has. Let me see who Tulane has next. Tulane they get the Friday, Saturday, Sunday in this, don't they? No, they get Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They go to Wichita State, and they've struggled against Wichita State in the past. So this is going to be a fun one. A lot of runs are going to be scored, I feel like. So that'll be a fun one as well. Next up, let's jump on over to the Sun Belt Fun Belt. Here we go. Sun Belt, Fun Belt, Sun Belt, Fun Belt. Okay, here we go. Sorry, I had to add that to the stage. It's not working. Here we go. It worked. I've mentioned it multiple times. I've been contradicting myself. Coastal Carolina is my #1 rank for my power rankings in the Sun Belt. This offense has been mashing. They're getting Cam Flukie back in what seems like 3 more weeks now. Cam Flukie's going to be back soon. Hayden Johnson's going to be back very soon. They do take another offensive injury, but Kevin Schnall's got those guys next man up mentality. They might be rolling into Omaha with 9 pitchers hitting, for God's sakes, and I'd still take Coastal Carolina in the game right now. Coastal Carolina sweeps through Marshall, scoring double digits in every game, I believe. No. They outscored them 28-17. So it was kind of a football score there. Coastal Carolina takes that series. They've been phenomenal. I moved Southern Miss down, and the gap from 1 and 2 to 3, it's pretty far right now. Because Southern Miss has been playing very good so far. Let me see. Oh, dang it. Southern Miss has been playing good. The pitching's been a little consistent. They do drop a game to Appalachian State, who I have as 11 in my power rankings. I still think this App State offense has a little to figure out. Obviously, a much newer crew this year in Sunbelt play, only returning a handful of guys, in my opinion. So, but you take a game at Southern Miss at the Pete, that's very, very impressive. But I have my questions going with Southern Miss. They peaked too early. The pitching's been a little up and down now. I still have confidence in you, Southern Miss, but Texas State is my #3 team. They go to Georgia State and sweep through the Panthers, outscoring them 31-9. Texas State sweeps Louisiana Lafayette last week, and then they come over to Atlanta and sweep. I get it. Georgia State's not Sunbelt team. They're 14 in my rankings, but still being able to take care of business there. South Alabama, same thing here. South Alabama takes care of business, taking 2 out of 3 at Old Dominion. I'm still very high on this South Alabama team. We haven't talked about them as much on this show, but I think the South Alabama team is going to make a lot of noise here in the Sun Belt. Arkansas State, they take 2 out of 3 at James Madison. They should have swept them. They kind of handed James Madison that Saturday game in a very back and forth. 11-10 was the final, but this game at one point, it was, let me see, 6, 8. It was 9-5, 10-5, or 10-6, and then just a bullpen blow up in the 8th and 9th. You don't get good outings from. Tyler Weimer's been nails for them. He struggled, and then Andrew Allen got the loss, giving up the game-winning double in the 11th. But I'm still high on this Arkansas State team. James Madison, kind of in that just meh area. But ULM, on the other hand, Ford Pemberton's got them trending in the right direction, it looks like. Taking 2 out of 3 at Lafayette, at Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns, the ULL Raging Cajuns. ULM goes over to their little brother and takes 2 out of 3 from them. I don't know who's big brother. I don't know who's little brother, but UL, your little brother this week. ULM takes 2 out of 3 from Louisiana in a very convincing very convincing weekend. I had ULM at that 8 spot last week. Kind of same with Marshall. I had Marshall at 9 still because the teams they played weren't that impressive, and they had winning records against them in a conference. But I think ULM might be trending in the right direction with Ford Pemberton in year one. Year one in Monroe, SJ Tui, the athletic director from the blind side, might have something in his hands with baseball. Troy at 7. Georgia Southern takes a game from you, but you still win that series. No, you lost that series, actually. Woof. But why did I keep them at 7? That's a great question. Because this is where the losers start coming in. I moved Georgia Southern up, actually. I think this is a down weekend for Troy pitching. Skylar Meade might have lost himself his South Carolina job right there. Marshall, I still think they're an okay team. Coastal, they just ran into a very hot Coastal team. JMU, App State, Old Dominion, you lose your series, give up a lot of runs. Better days are coming. Georgia Southern, on the hand, days might be coming now. I still have my concerns about Georgia, but you do a dandy job this weekend against a very good Troy team, in my opinion. And then Georgia State, I don't know what to say about you, Georgia State. You've won, what, 1 conference game? 2 conference games? And they haven't looked good. I'm just going to say that. Before we jump into the back half of the show where we start recapping all of the 8 series we jumped into last week, let's hear from our sponsor over at Home Field. Home Field but they sponsor everything here at College Baseball Central. You can go over to our new website, click on the Home Field banner, and they'll take you right over to their website. If you want something as dandy as candy, as my old math teacher would say, you want something dandy as candy and looking fly, as the kids would say, to go to Omaha with sooner or later, you go to Home Field, go get 20% off right here. Literally, you click Home Field, click get 20% off, and you can save now by referring a friend over there. I got a lot of Home Field gear on the way, so I am very excited for that. So let's hear from our sponsor, Home Field.
Before we get back to the action, we've got to tell you about the best gear in college sports. The place to go is Home Field Apparel. Check out the Diamond Classics collection, high-quality throwback jerseys for your favorite team. From the Arkansas Razorbacks to the Vanderbilt Commodores, Home Field has you covered. Home Field's the only apparel partner of College Baseball Central. Gear up for game day by visiting homefieldapparel.com.
Thank you, Mr. Grissom. I can't wait to see you soon, hopefully in Omaha. I doubt he's watching this, actually, but can't wait to see you, Matt. Thank you for everything you do for us here at CBC. But let's jump into it. Let's jump into our first years. I don't know what order we in on Thursday, but let's start with the one out west, Oregon State and Mercer. I thought this was going to be a much closer series, obviously, and it was, in my opinion. Mercer had leads. Mercer had a lead in game 1 against Oregon State, but you go against a rotation like Dax Whitney, Ethan Kleinschmidt, and Eric Segura. It's going to be a tough task to handle, as that weekend rotation went 16 and a third, 6 earned runs, 32 strikeouts, as we had the one and only Jake McKeever coming in saying Oregon State is overrated and 10th in the nation. This is the result. Mercer's a good team. Mercer is a good program. Just ask Mr. Ben Upton. I think this Mercer team is trending in the right direction in the Big South, in the SoCon. But this Mercer team had a lead going into the bottom of the third, but they just did not get good pitching at all this weekend. Braden Kersey doesn't even get out of the first. Reed Fagerstrom doesn't get out of the first. Garrett Lambert, they go with this long reliever kind of thing. He pitches okay, But you go against a guy like Dax Whitney, 6 innings, 3 hits, 3 earned, 13 Ks. And then obviously Bryce Hubbard and Paul Vasquez were the heroes in game number 1, as Bryce Hubbard had the game-winning double, a 2-run double in the bottom, or not. Yeah, Bryce Hubbard had the game-winning 2-run double in the bottom of the 8th after Dylan LaPointe took the lead in the top of the 7th. But then Oregon State played some good old-fashioned small ball to get it close. And game 1 went to Oregon State. Game 2, on the other hand, was got a little bit out of hand pretty quickly. They play usually in these non-conference games. You say, hey, 10-run rule. Nope. Let's play all 9, guys. We talked about Titan Kamaka on the show Thursday, and he actually had a nice weekend. I don't have his stats in front of me, but he does go yard here. Kamaka is now hitting. Let me check that quickly. Kamaka is hitting .451 with 3 home runs, 23 RBIs this year. He's already past his double amount from last year. He's got 13 on the year, but it was all Oregon State after that Kamaka home run in the 2nd inning. Josh Proctor and AJ Singer both had multi-RBI games. But the key note I took here was only 6 strikeouts for this Oregon State offense. Being able to limit that strikeout number against teams like Mercer, who can put a little pressure on you, that's a very key component there. Ethan Kleinschmidt strikes out 12 in 5 innings, only giving up 2 earned runs. And then in game 3, it was 3-1 until it was 1-1 going into the bottom of the 7th, and then Mercer throws the ball around the infield here and there. There was only 1 RBI in this game, and that goes to Josh Proctor with his sacrifice fly, which ended up being the game-winning sacrifice fly in the bottom of the 7th. Bryce Hubbard then scored on a wild pitch, and Jacob Galloway brought in a run on a fielding error. And my main takeaway with this is I think this Mercer team is legit, and if they don't face a weekend rotation of Dax Whitney, Ethan Kleinschmidt, and Eric Segura, as Segura went 5 1/3, striking out 7. And I pointed out here Jeb Johnson's outing for Mercer. He was nails. He gave this Mercer team a legit opportunity to win Sunday. And I mentioned that on the show Thursday. I said, if this Mercer team has a chance to win a game in the series, it is Sunday. And they handed it to Oregon State. And Oregon State said, we don't want it yet, but we'll take it. So I got to give Mercer a lot of props. They get swept. Doesn't look good on the resume, but the little things matter. You did stick around with this Oregon State team in 2 out of the 3 games in this series. I'm not really worried about Mercer going into next week. Let me see. They got Kennesaw State in the midweek, and then they got is this a SoCon? It's not their opener in the SoCon, but they got UNC. They go to UNC Greensboro, which will be a very fun series. Actually, that's a very fun series. Next up, let's go over to the CUSA, and not my personal favorite, because I think all 8 of these were my personal favorite. Let's go over to DBU and Missouri State. DBU wins the series. Reagan nailed this one right on the head. As I'm pretty sure Reagan nailed the Oregon State Mercer one, saying Oregon State would sweep. I disagreed with the dog, Reagan, but DBU takes 2 out of 3 here, as I predicted a lot of runs, and to say the most part, we did not get as many runs as I thought. I was thinking every game I'd have a double digit in some way, shape, or form. That is because DBU moves one of their best arms in Liam Watt to the Friday night role, and he was not really lights out, but he was the reason DBU stayed in this game and won this game. He goes 7 innings, 4 earned, 5 Ks, and he gives that DBU team a legit chance to win every time he steps on the mound. And I said that in the show Thursday. I said the minute Liam Watt gets on the mound, it's game over for DBU. Liam Watt has a 2.48 ERA. He's 4-1 now with 36.1 innings and 28 Ks on the year. Luke Pettit was a dog this weekend. He had 3 home runs, bringing his total to 6 on the year with 19 RBIs. He had a solo home run in the Game 1 win and 2 home runs in the Game 3 win. In that middle game, Missouri State does take care of business. Gabe Rossler went 1 for 3 with 3 RBIs, and Caden Bogenpole looked like his natural self, going 3 for 4 with no RBIs, but he got on base 3 times, and you always got to give my boy Caden Bogenpole some love. Bobby Atkinson went 1 for 1, 2 RBIs with a double in the Game 2 win as well for the Bears. But in Game 3, Luke Pettit and Dylan Cupp were the main stories, the main takeaway. Dylan Cupp, the Mississippi State legend, as some would say, 2 for 3 with a home run and 3 RBIs in the Game 3 win. And then Pettit doing his own stuff. Luke Pettit, you might know the name. Why, you might say? That Pettit name is very, very famous as I don't know if Andy, his father. I don't know if Andy, his father, went. His brother, Jared, was at DBU in 2021. And now, the Pettit family is a deep legacy family. Andy did not go to DBU, but his sister Alexi is at DBU right now played volleyball in 2019 and 2022. And then obviously his brother Jared was at DBU and then pitched for the Marlins organization. That Pettit family. Andy Pettit's my favorite pitcher of all time. Not because his surname is Andrew, but Andy Pettit is. I'm a big Yankee fan, and I loved Andy Pettit. But Luke Pettit, the two-way star over at DBU. And Reagan hit this one on the head, obviously, again. But I think this DBU team's trending in the right direction. I'm not saying Missouri State is trending in the wrong direction. I just think you're rolling into a monster. This is a series it's like, yes, we're happy this series is back for this year at least, since DBU is going to the Pac-12 next year. But the good news for DBU is you get Oklahoma State tomorrow in what should be an offensive explosion game. Bet the under because I just said that. Then you go to Kennesaw State and you have Sam Houston next week. Those are two of the weaker teams in the CUSA. If you handle business, you're talking about sitting at 12-3 in 2 weekends from now, especially with 2 midweek wins against Oklahoma State and Oklahoma. This could be a huge turning point in the season for DBU, especially if we're talking about this DBU team potentially being 23-12, 23-13 by the end of next weekend. For Missouri State, on the other hand, I've said it. I'm beating a dead bear here, but this pitching has been just you got to give it to Coach Hawkins. He's trying everything. He's giving every opportunity. They might have a tryout soon for the students there, feels like, but been good. They only got one qualified arm in Owen Slater. He's got 4.96 ERA. I'm surprised they haven't started next night on weekends yet. He's got 2.79 ERA. He started a few midweeks, but you're starting to think, hey, let's get him going now. But the guys that you've been wanting to start, like Michael Yipschuk, he's got 6.17 ERA. Brock Lucas, the Missouri transfer, he's got a 7 ERA. Jason Chafe, 7.52 ERA. The great thing in this is your offense freaking mashes. You have Logan Fife hitting over 300. Bruce Sermonelli, the Central Arkansas transfer, hitting over 300. Jax Ryan's hitting over 300. Curry Sutherland's got 9 home runs. Carter Bergman, he's got 10 home runs. This Missouri State team's going to be fine. In my head, I'm praying for a multi-bid CUSA, which it's probably going to come down to Liberty, DBU, and Missouri State most likely. I'm probably missing a team or two there in my head, but I think this conference is going to be absolute chaos in May, especially if Missouri State figures out the pitching. If they figure out the pitching, they're a menace to to go against. But Missouri State, it gets a little tougher here. You got Arkansas at home, which this Arkansas team is going to be pissed off after getting swept by UF. it gets a little bit easier with, oh no, it actually gets pretty easier. The only task you have to face is Sam Houston on Friday because they have a legit Friday night arm. But I think they're going to be sitting pretty too. Sam Houston gets Sam Houston at home, or Missouri State has Sam Houston coming at home. They play Easter though. They probably beat Missouri, and then they go to Delaware. I want to harp on this. Don't look at Delaware's record, which is probably like 10-18. Do not look at that and be like, oh, that's 3 easy wins. No, they're 9-7 at home. They are 1-8 in conference. I'm probably going to be biting my words on this because they did get a win against Dallas Baptist at home. Don't sleep on the Blue Hens, and next thing you know, you're going to be sitting there Friday, sitting there like, oh, God, we just lost to Delaware on a Friday. Can't be losing games like that. Let's move along to our next series. Let's not go to UTSA and ECU yet. Let's go to some action where we had a little bit of an upset here. A little bit of an upset. And I like seeing these stats top 50 rankings. You can tell who college baseball and you can tell who doesn't because they're still ranking Kent State in their top 40, top 30, top 25 right now. Kent State's kind of hit a little bit of a wall, folks. Kent State drops 2 out of 3 to the Miami, Ohio Redhawks. Let me go over to Miami, Ohio baseball. The Redhawks taking 2 out of 3 against a very good Kent State team. And they were, oh my God, that's actually cool. I just went to their website. Miami, Ohio is partnered with Skyline Chili. Skyline Chili Athletic Skyline Chili Athlete of the Week. Sorry, I just detoured myself. But I think that's so cool. They take 2 out of 3 at Kent State, not like at home, at Kent State. And Reagan was wrong on this one. She had Kent State sweeping this one. And I said, I think Kent State's going to take 2 out of 3. I thought Kent State's pitching staff was better than Miami, Ohio's pitching staff. I was wrong. I was very, very wrong. Zach Shosky went 5 2/3, only giving up 1 earned run, 7 Ks on Friday against Kieran Coffey, who's been lights out for Kent State on Friday. But Kent State takes game 1, and then Miami comes back and fights. And it feels like realistically, Miami, Ohio should have swept them. Bottom of the 6th was the turning point where it started getting out of hand. Where Miami, Ohio made 2 errors, and Kent State took advantage of it. Micah, I'm not going to say that whole name, but they scored 2 runs on an error to make it 4-3, and then a single makes it 4-1, then 4-3, and then in the 7th, Brody Williams tied it up, and then Colton Schlaler walks it off in game 1, and then Miami, Ohio just turns around and says, nope, we're playing with big dogs here. They win in a football score, 21-3. You think it was actually Kent State's football team actually out there. The Golden Flashes, I'm pretty sure, went 2-8 in football this year. But it looked like their football team was attempting to play baseball this weekend, as Ryan Novak was the story of this game. 4 for 5 with 5 RBIs, a home run, a double, and I'm pretty sure he was just a triple away from the cycle. He was just a triple away from the cycle in this game. 4 for 5 with 5 RBIs. Just absolute. The camera angle wasn't great for this game, obviously, but watching the highlights of this game, it was so awesome to see this Miami, Ohio offense get going. Tommy Harrison went 2 for 3. He had 2 doubles as well. Ignacio Gonzalez had a phenomenal weekend. He went 2 for 3 with 3 RBIs and a home run. And then Clayton Burke was story here on the mound for the Red Hawks. 6 innings, 3 earned, 4 Ks. And I'm going to say it, these MAC pitchers don't pitch to a lot of strikeouts, but they get a lot of weak contact, and they are out there just absolute bulldogs on the mound. And Clayton Burke just really shut down this Kent State offense today. I mean, guys like Sawyer Solitera, who's been red hot, 1 for 4. Colton Schlaler, 2 for 3. Micah Kirikoff, 0 for 4. Those are three of Kent State's top hitters. Being able to shut down those guys is huge. And then obviously game 3, 8-5, which, like I said, Kent State handed them this series. Kent State should have been swept. They should have been swept. Kent State collapses in the end due to a blown save by Caden Leonard. They were up 5-3 heading into the top of the 9th, but thanks to some timely hitting, again, Tommy Harrison, he has been mashing the ball, and honestly, he should have been in contention for my player who we'll get into here shortly. But you can't be giving the Red Hawks free paces and free passes. This Kent State team walked 7 guys. Walks kill you on the mound. But the main part here was Carson Byers, 4 innings out of the bullpen to absolutely shut down the Kent State offense and to give Miami a legit chance. You see, we're going to talk about it shortly when we get to Charlotte. These long relievers that are able to put up zeros and let the offense get back to work very quickly, it really gives teams second lives. And I'm going to go on and say it. Miami, Ohio, they should have here. Kent State's lucky one game, and I bet their team and their head coach is saying it right now. I bet they're very happy they just got one because it could have been way, way worse. So let's move on. Let's go over to East Tennessee as the Buccaneers take down the Cadets. And I feel like the same thing kind of happened in this one here too. VMI was in all 3 games. They were in all 3 games. It was a very good one in East Tennessee. And I think this VMI team is legit as well, just because they run into a hot team in East Tennessee and Johnson City. I'm not really worried about them. I think they're going to be just fine. Just VMI, again, they handed them the series. Errors are going to kill you. What happens? ETSU may pay. Big one, obviously, RBIs. He kind of won this game. East Tennessee, 2 for 4 RBIs, a double, home run, just a single and a triple short of the cycle. And then Ian Guanzon also had a home run in game 1. But the pitching for ETSU, I thought I had it here, but Tayden Bell was pretty solid on the mound. But I got to give my credit to Andrew Jones here for VMI. Not the Andrew Jones we're all thinking of, but Andrew Jones for VMI. 3 2/3, 2 hits, 6 Ks out of the bullpen. He threw 72 pitches. Kind of makes you think if they could have kept it going with him. But they go with one of their better relievers, to Hunter Sipe. They go to Hunter Sipe, and he wasn't as effective. He's been very good for VMI so far this year. He's got an ERA of 2.34 this year. So it's kind of, okay, he's human. ETSU takes game 2 as well, 4-3 behind Michael Harpster's phenomenal outing. 7 innings, 3 hits, no earned runs. I'm pretty sure he gave up 1. He gave up 1 earned run, or not 1 earned run. He gave up 1 run, but strikes out 7. Ian Guanzon, again, we're going to be talking about Ian Guanzon a lot this series right here. 2 for 3, 2 RBIs, and another home run in the game 2 win. VMI does threaten a little. Cole Rayleigh hits a 2-run home run in the top of the 9th, but sometimes those home runs are rally killers. They're rally killers as East Tennessee takes that game 4-3, but VMI still salvages the game on Sunday in a game where East Tennessee blows it. That's kind of the theme of this episode, folks. Teams blowing it late in the game. I'm going to give Ian Guanzon another shout out as he hit for the cycle this weekend with a triple on Sunday, multiple home runs this weekend, and he did have a single and a double in there as well. Jamie Palmsey had a home run for ETSU, but Seth Buchanan had a home run for the Cadets. He went 1 for 3 with a home run. But Owen Prince was 2 for 5, 2-run single in the top of the 9th. To give the Cadets the win. My big one here, Eli Tyndall. We talked about him on the preview a little. 5 innings out of the bullpen, 2 earned, 2 strikeouts, and then Buddy Baker 2 shutout innings to give the Cadets the Sunday salvage. And a very good prime time. This is, this is one of the better series in the SoCon this weekend, obviously. And this gets me excited for the rest of SoCon play for both teams. Let me actually check so VMI gets Wofford, but they get High Point. They get High Point and Mercer later in the season. That's something where VMI can kind of rake up these conference wins and maybe not drop series, but they can drop a game or two to High Point or Mercer. And I think they're going to be sitting pretty for the SoCon conference tournament sooner than later. And then East Tennessee, they're going to be fine, obviously. 19-7 now, 4-2 in conference. Obviously one of the better programs in the SoCon. Let's move on to the most American series of the weekend, where Army takes home the Battle Star, taking 2 out of 3 in America's series. Yeah, America's series. They take 2 out of 3 from Navy. Army wins games 1 and 2 by 1 run. Army wins 5-4 and 4 and 3, and the Navy takes game 2 5-2. And the pitching was what I told you all, folks. The pitching is really, really fun, and the small ball is what wins these games. As game off bunt, if I'm remembering correctly. Let me see. Army won. Yep, Army won game 1 on a walk-off bunt. But Navy, again, guys, the theme here, Navy really fought in this game. And I got to give a big shout out to Brady Bendick here. 8 innings, 3 hits, 0 earned runs, 11 Ks, and then 1 loss, unfortunately. But that was because they made 2 errors in the first inning, which allowed Army to score their 4 runs early. And then next thing you know, you put up 7 zeros and you give your offense an opportunity to fight back. Carter Hewitt, 1 for 4, 3 RBIs. He had a 3-run home run in the first inning. But David Dubrule was the brave soldier that sacrificed that bunt to get the win for Army in game 1. And then game 2, Navy comes back and they show their fighting here. Tyler Kripe, 3 for 5 with 4 RBIs, a double and a home run in the game 2 win, a triple short of the cycle here. Navy really showed fight, and I was really impressed with the pitching on both sides this weekend. Matt Archibald, 6 1/3, 4 hits, 1 earned, 8 Ks in the game 2 win. But game 3 ultimately went to Army. Go Army, beat Navy, as they say. The whole goal here is you want to, from a third person's point of view, it's sung second. You want to sing second. You want your school's fight song played second. Obviously, the tradition from America's game, Army-Navy football game. But Trey Aites, 7 2/3, 5 hits, 3 earned, 5 Ks, 154 pitches out of the bullpen not out of the bullpen, to start for Army. And just, I played college baseball for 6 years, folks. I've never thrown close to 154 pitches. I've never played with anyone that's pitched close to 150 pitches. That is a crazy amount of pitches, but honestly, fuck yeah. I love the grit from Trey Aites. I wonder how those conversations went not in the bullpen, but like in the dugout in between that. It's like, hey, how do you feel? Getting a little tired? Yeah, a little tired? Okay, we'll let you go back out there. Obviously, the stake in his outing was giving a 2-run home run to Patrick Walsh in the top of the 8th. That was the end of his day. But Thomas Schreck was the hero for Army. 2 for 4, 2 doubles, and 2 RBIs in the game 3 victory. And it was a really fun weekend up north. Just phenomenal. Up in West Point, it was just phenomenal. Like watching all 3 of those games, just like you wish those games got broadcasted on ESPN. I hate that it was on ESPN Plus. Put those games on ESPN. Give more credit to the Patriot League. I wish this game had like a 6-game series because there's only a handful of teams in the Patriot League. Give these 2 teams like a 9-game series where they play like alternating weekends, because they do play a lot of non-conference schedules. They do get another 3-game series at the final week of the season, actually, in Maryland. So we'll be previewing that one again, probably. So very excited for that. And then let's get into our final two, our American Conference series. And we'll save the best for last, but let's talk about Charlotte and USF. Charlotte takes 2 out of 3 from USF. USF, we just talked about USF being the number 2 team in my American rankings. And I'm going to stand on business here. I think the USF Bulls are going to be fine. I think USF just had an off weekend, and it really showed. Michael Sine has been lights out for USF. He had his freshman moment, being a little human. 7 innings, 5 earned, 3 Ks in the game to win. But the offense did enough to get them that win. Jacob Green and Brad K, Lorai both did phenomenal jobs in game 2. In games 1 and 3, on the other hand, pitching wasn't good for USF. Giving up, it's weird because you talk about how good a pitching staff can be for Charlotte. Their offense is just so good. Cody Gunderson, Dylan Coons, Todd Hudson have been and Robert Neidry have been absolute just masters of baseballs for the 49ers. Charlotte just got unreal run support, but it also helps when you have Eddie Cooper, a South Carolina transfer, come in and maybe even solidify himself as that Friday night starter. 5 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned, and 2 Ks for the South Carolina transfer in the game 1 win. It's a very good USF lineup. The whole key to that lineup is don't walk more than 3 guys, probably. You don't want to walk more than 3 guys, in my opinion, if you're the starter. Eddie Cooper, I'm pretty sure, walked 2. Eddie Cooper, we're not going to talk about how many guys Eddie Cooper walked. But then you have Joseph Taylor piggyback off that, go 4 innings, 4 hits, 5 Ks, and he walks 0. The highlight of this weekend should be Charlotte's bullpen and how great it was. Let's get into game 2. Game 2 was Chase Carson. He went 7 innings out of the bullpen to give this Charlotte team a little bit of a break. He saved some arms. Chase Carson, 7 innings, 7 hits, 2 earned, 4 Ks out of the bullpen. That was after Drew Munn gave up 5, but still, just having an arm like that to come in and really give you an opportunity to fight for a win here, that's huge. And I think Chase Carson's one of the best arms in the American. And we talked about him being a breakout guy, so go us. But obviously, South Florida, they put the pressure on them early. Just really good approach against a very good pitcher. I mean, Ryan Pruitt's been phenomenal. Eli Thomas was phenomenal this weekend. Nathan Early in that game, Rafael Betancourt. They've been Jacob Green. He went 1 for 3 with a home run in game 2. Obviously, this USF offense has a very good approach. Just didn't have a very good weekend. As that game 3, you have Chase Oxborough, who we've talked about on the show. Chase Oxborough, he hits 2 guys. He hit 1 guy and walks 2 in the first inning. And then you go to Adam Stanton for 8 innings out of the bullpen. That's crazy. At 8 innings on 85 pitches. That's the other crazy part. He was phenomenal, giving just absolutely shutting down a USF offense that thought they had a legitimate shot. 3 innings or 3 runs. It was 3-3 the minute Adam Stanton came in. USF did not score another run after that, as USF drops the series to Charlotte behind just, again, absolute mashing of the baseballs. Todd Hudson, 2 for 4, 2 RBIs in game 3. Robert Neidry, again. Cody Gunderson, he's got 10 home runs on the year. Not 10 home runs, 6 home runs of the year. Dylan Coots, he's got 8 home runs on the year. Coons got 31 RBIs, hitting 370 now. Gunderson's hitting 357 with 23 RBIs. He's got 10 doubles on the year. That's what it is. He's been phenomenal for the 49ers so far. Again, I'm very high on this 49er offense, but even higher on this next team's offense. And yes, let's get right into it. ECU and UTSA. We talked about it, guys. East Carolina is going to come out game 1 hungry. Ethan Norby, he's either going to do one of 2 things. He's going to shove or he's going to absolutely look putrid. He shoved, which I'm so glad that he shoved, because he is the best arm in the American. I'm sorry. He's the most talented arm in the American, and he's got the most potential draft-wise. He's going to be a top 2 round arm, top 1 round arm in the MLB draft this year. I don't know. I'm not a scout, but Ethan Norby's so fun to watch. I got to see him in Clearwater last year. That fastball slider changeup combo is just filthy. 7 innings, 1 hit, 12 Ks. Absolutely shuts down a UTSA offense that this UTSA offense can go toe-to-toe with some top offenses in the country. But other than that, UTSA takes care of business because you get very good outings from Connor Miles, Sam Simmons on the mound game 2. It gives you an opportunity to mash with Drew Detlefson, who goes 2 for 4, double and home run in game 2. Detlefson's now got 10 home runs, 9 doubles, and 32 RBIs on the year, hitting .416. He's running away with American Player of the Year right now. And then game 3, I mentioned it earlier, Ethan Rose only gets 1 inning in his start, so you got to rely on a very taxed bullpen. Not even taxed. It's a very thin bullpen because you're already dealing with so many injuries. You're dealing with so many injuries. It stings that I have to keep on talking about that with ECU, but UTSA takes advantage of it, and ECU nearly did win this game. They nearly did win this series as UTSA blew the game in the 9th because, again, both of these pitching staffs have been inconsistent. I mentioned Connor Miles and Sam Simmons because it feels like those have been 2 of the better arms for UTSA, but Kendall Dove doesn't even get the start for UTSA. He comes in relief. He struggles, but Ryan Self and Connor Kelly were very good to start the game. But you go to Sam Simmons after throwing in 4 innings in game 2, and he blows the game for you. Blows the game, but the bullpen's still a big question mark. But ECU, I mean, Joseph Webb looked good in the 9th, blew it, but Caden Miller and Lane Howarth were the heroes where Howarth had the 2-run single in the bottom of the 9th, and then Caden Miller had the bases loaded walk-off single. But UTSA, again, very high on. They're my best team in the American right now. ECU, you look at that record, you're like, ugh. It looks like it's going to be conference tournament or nothing again for this ECU team. For UTSA, on the other hand, that at-large bid is still up there for grabs. Let me go to Warren Nolan actually right now and see where they are on the RPI before we get into. I forgot to actually do a team of the week, but UTSA, they had a very good RPI last year. And so far this year, it's 47. It's 47. So right now, they would be an at-large team. When it comes to them and USF, they would both, one of those two would probably win the American, and then one of the other two would be an at-large bid. ECU, on the other hand, they're sitting at 52, so they'd probably be one of the last 4 in or one of the first teams out. Obviously, banking on some conference bids. Let me actually see. Let me go to the tournament here for Mr. Pear. Pear has 2 teams from the American. He's got UTSA and USF. He doesn't have ECU in right now. He's got not even in his first 4 out, last 4 in. And then UAB. He's actually got UAB coming in as a next 4 out. And props to the Blazers. They've looked phenomenal this year. But let's jump into the final segment in the show. I know I'm keeping you guys around for a little bit longer. It's 9:05. I'm sorry. We're running over a little late, but we're almost done here. I promise. Let's get into our team of the week. Not our team of the week, our pitchers of the week and our player of the week. We just talked about our pitcher of the week, but let's jump into our player of the week from the WCC and future Pac-12 member, only in basketball, sadly, Gonzaga. Maddox Haley absolutely raked for Gonzaga last weekend, hitting .737. That's a jet right there, I think. .737 with 5 home runs, 9 RBIs, and I'm pretty sure he had 10 extra base hits last weekend in Gonzaga's weekend series against Pacific. They win their game actually today, 7-2. They take 2 out of 3 from Pacific. And I'm very high on this Gonzaga team if you've already read the Diamond Report. And let me see, Maddox. Let's see if Maddox, he went 1 for 4 today. So you can add on to that batting average. But this Gonzaga team has been very mediocre to start the year, but I think they're going to get it going here. Maddox Haley in his 15 games hitting .492 now with 6 home runs, 15 RBIs. When you add someone like this to a lineup with Ricky Sanchez and Mikey Bell, it's going to get hot for the Bulldogs real quick, and I think they're going to compete for the top of the WCC. And then last but not least, obviously we don't have a team of the week. That is my fault. Hand up there. Let's get into our pitcher of the week, and I just talked about it. Ethan Norby of the East Carolina Pirates. When that graphic shows up, there it is. We're repping purple because of him today. Ethan Norby, 7 innings, 12 Ks, no runs allowed, only giving up 3 hits against a very, very talented UTSA team. And I have no words left for someone like Ethan Norby because he is so damn good. Oh my God, we got a football score out in Vegas. I'll get to that in a minute. But Ethan Norby, he's been phenomenal for the Pirates, and I can't wait to see him in Clearwater soon and to see this East Carolina team hopefully trend upward because someone like him is on the mound every Friday night. So that ends our show, obviously. I'm sorry I kept you all around a little lighter than I usually like. I like to be in bed by this time right now. I'm going to go turn off my light and go right to sleep, actually. I'm just kidding. We got some college baseball actually starting up here in 27 minutes. San Diego State and Arizona State, Kevin Vance and those Aztecs have been phenomenal out of the Mountain West so far. They're 15-14. Don't let that conference record kind of shock you. I think that the Aztecs are very good. They face off against a very good Arizona State team looking for some revenge after dropping the series to West Virginia this weekend. And I did mention a football score out west. We got Cal State Bakersfield leading UNLV 17-14. UNLV's lining up for the field goal to tie it. I'm just kidding. That game's got 2 outs, round third. But let me tell you, Cal State Bakersfield scored 13 runs in the final 3 innings to come back and win this one. Major props to Cal State Bakersfield. And what a phenomenal day for that. St. Louis upsets Utah Tech. But let's talk about a little midweeks coming up tomorrow. We got a lot of good midweeks coming up. I'm going to have my eye out on that Liberty and North Carolina State game. Liberty, very underrated team. Not very underrated in the CUSA, but very underrated mid-major team right there. FSU goes to Stetson. Stetson's always a tough team to play. Miami, Ohio, they get to go to Kentucky. Don't be surprised if the Red Hawks take down an SEC team. Southeastern and Southern Miss, I always love a good pitching fest, and that's what Southeastern and Southern Miss will probably be. That's what I hope it'll be. In their earlier meeting this year, it was a 1-0 win for Southern Miss, and then we have another top 15 matchup here with Auburn and Georgia Tech. Let's see if Auburn gets some revenge and hopefully not drop 4 in a row. UCLA goes out to Anteater Ballpark to face off with UC Irvine. UC Santa Barbara against USC. West Virginia and Arizona in a non-conference Big 12 matchup. I love that. Very interesting enough, West Virginia has UCF starting on Thursday. So that's a little interesting. Alabama goes to Jacksonville State. Jacksonville State, 24-5, 9-0 in the CUSA. I thought that was wrong. Whoops. Arkansas and Missouri State. In Springfield, that'll be a very good one. Coastal Carolina and the Citadel. The Citadel Citadel's 3-3 in the SoCon, and they got a midweek win. Did they get a midweek win? Yep, they had a midweek win against South Carolina a few weeks ago. Don't disrespect the troops, obviously, but we're on deck very loaded midweek, and we're on deck for a very loaded weekend. Not a lot of teams are going to be playing midweeks this week, actually, most likely. It seems like we got a lot of midweeks. But especially with this Thursday, Friday, Saturday slate due to Easter, I probably won't be back on the air Thursday. I will obviously let y'all know, or I'll put out a short video of the top matchups I have. But thank you for tuning into the Riedell Report. I love you all. Let's have a great week. Go check out the new College Baseball Central website. Again, it is right here, collegebaseballcentral.net. I have an article up that I'm going to be tweeting about in the morning about the UCF Knights, how they've been killing it so far. But thank you all for tuning into the Riedell Report. My name is Andrew Riedell. I love you all. Thank you for tuning in. I will see you on the road to Omaha. Have a good night, everyone.